All right, we are here with Brian Hurtt with an extra T.
With an extra T, yeah.
The artist on the hit Oni Press series, The Sixth Gun.
Yes.
Thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you very much.
So, go ahead and just give a brief overview of The Sixth Gun for people who may not have already picked it up yet.
Oh, I'm horrible at that. You should have asked the writer. I wish he was here. It's basically a dark fantasy set in the Old West, and you have these 6 mystical guns that are very powerful, that basically the bad guys want to get their hands on. And you have one sort of innocent girl who the most powerful gun falls into her hands, and it's basically her and her compatriots' sort of quest to discover what the power of the guns means, and then whether or not, what to do with that power. And they're pursued by all kinds of awesome baddies. And
yeah, let's talk about the awesome baddies for a second, because it's really easy to talk about the main characters we actually have right behind you here. But the awesome baddies, in the first volume, just recently collected and put together, you have a basically zombie undead southern general.
yeah.
You have his questionably alive, questionably dead, who knows what these people are, sort of rough riders that are with him.
Yeah.
Armies of clay soldiers. I mean, you're throwing everything at it. Where
Some zombies, yeah. There's this evil widow wife, ex-wife, yeah.
So, where are you coming up with all the designs for all these fantastic evil baddies?
I think Cullen's scripts are so visual. Like, they just, I don't know, it's magic. They pop in your head. Yeah, I don't know. I'm so engaged in the story myself. It's like reading a good book when I read his scripts, and it comes right to mind. So I don't know. I don't put a lot of thought into it, but they're very colorful characters on the page, and so they come easily to mind.
You're talking about the color that, for something like we've been talking about, where it's this sort of, alternate history where you've got, post-war, but you have zombies and the undead and all. The artwork is remarkably bright and colorful and not so grim and gritty and horror-ish. What was your decision to go that direction with it?
It was just very intentional. We thought from the beginning, like, it almost seems obvious that you'd want to go dark. And one of the things we didn't want to do is we didn't want to have one of those sepia tones, dirt, brown and gray, Old West comics. We wanted this to be bright and vibrant, and it's got sort of a pop sensibility. It feels fun and it's sort of a swashbuckling quality to it. Even though there's elements of horror in the book, it's just as much a fantasy book, and we wanted to read that way. We didn't want it to look like an Old West you've seen before.
Yeah, it's definitely more of a fantasy adventure as opposed to a horror comic.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So who would your target audience be for this?
Everyone.
Do you hear that? Everyone.
Everybody. Well, we've been very, we absolutely want to make sure that younger kids can pick this up. Not too young, probably. It's basically a PG-13 book. Mm-hmm. We've done books in the past. We did a book called The Damned, which was pretty obviously a R-rated book, and we wanted this to be a book that we could hand to a younger teenager or a younger kid and not feel guilty about it. Right. We want it to be open to pretty much anybody who wants to read a fun comic book.
So we're knee-deep in the second arc now. How far out are you right now, and where do you see this going?
I'm not as far out as I'd like to be. I'm working on the last issue of this arc, so I'm almost done with issue 11. Mm-hmm. And we have plans, we have it outlined for somewhere around 47 issues, which is another few years of work, and it's, and we're going forward with it. It's going great.
Yeah, I mean, one of the really impressive things is that, I mean, you guys have hit every ship date now for, almost 11 months straight or 10 months straight. You guys have really been cruising on it.
Yeah, and that's I mean, we're trying to stick. I think it's as important as anything else is to put a book out on time, something that people can rely on. We are going to take a skip month, probably once a year, so that we don't become a book that's always late, constantly trying to catch up. But yeah, it's very important that we put the book out on time. I think people lose interest or lose faith in the book if you don't deliver the goods.
So we're going to end this the way we always end it, by asking you, what's your issue? What is that one comic that you've read that you have to tell people about?
Can I do 2 issues?
I don't know. What do you think?
Well, if I could do one, I'll do the first part of it. It's a 2-parter,
okay.
and it's like, was it 25 years old? It was X-Men Annual. Help me out here. Is it number 9 or 10? The Asgardian. New Mutants crossover.
Yeah.
Art Adams, obviously, and Chris Claremont. but it was the X-Men and the New Mutants going to Asgard and then kind of getting split up and lost. And I was just telling somebody about this yesterday. That's why it's fresh in my mind. I read the cover off that book, and I had to go buy a new copy recently because I love it so much. It's so important to me, mainly because it's got a large, it kind of relates to Six Gun. It's got a large cast, and it's epic. It was the first comic I read that felt epic. There's this landscape, this vast landscape, and with Asgard, I felt like Art Adams did a really good job of creating a real sense of a whole world that was out there. And so I think, that was a book that, whether I tend to remember it all the time or not, I think it was a milestone for me. It kind of influenced the way I think about what a comic can be. So if it's one issue, it's the X-Men Annual. People are going to yell at me for not knowing the right one. It's 9 or 10. And then the second part was giant-sized New Mutants Special #1 or something like that. But it was fantastic. Great art, fun story, and like I said, very epic.
It's hard to argue with Claremont and Adams.
I know. It was a classic. Yeah, it was absolutely a classic. Yeah.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thank you guys. Thanks.